not be joining us for finance because she had to take her daughter to the hospital for this week. Oh, so
Okay.
if she'll be there for the full meeting.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Because she did report earlier that she would be on by like a car. Hi, Stacy.
I guess. I'd like to call this meeting of the Madison Board of Education Finance Committee meeting to order. It is 5:31. We have 3 items to discuss. The first is to discuss the proposed changes to the 25-26 CIP. Second is to discuss the use of non-lapsing reserve funds for the past year. And thirdly, we'll get an update on the 2025-26 budget update. And I know we have exciting news regarding the CIP. So we are, as cooperative team players with the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen, they asked us to make some cuts. Craig and Stacy, as always, went through a fine-tooth comb. We're able to identify some things, and I'll let you take over.
Sure, I'll start, and we have Peter and Stacy here, and Ben contributed as well to a lot of the work that you'll see. When we were first asked for kind of a target number of potential reductions, we really were concerned. We weren't sure how we were going to be able to make a recommendation to you, but I will say that as difficult as these decisions were to make, the town really worked with us, as you'll see as we go through this, with some items that made it much more palatable to be able to bring it out to you today. we've looked at this quite a few times. I know we talked about it a little bit here as well, that this was coming. So I'll just kind of bring us through quickly, and then you know, as I said, ask Peter and Stacy to chime in. The requested reduction came about because we had added in year 5 a rather large ad, which was the Daniel Hand, and that's not something we felt we could push off when we were originally asked. So we have kept that in year 5. We can look at that in future years as we monitor that. Peter's been up there quite a bit, so he's very familiar with it, and you know, is keeping a very close eye on that. The first help from the town was that they allowed us to take the state reimbursement off that cost. So roofs are, as we shared, you know, pretty much a guaranteed grant. So that's 28% of the cost of the project that would come back to the town. So it's kind of more of a cash flow issue, but the town was allowed us to take that off. And then there's kind of a laundry list of other items we moved or held back on. I'll go through that as we go through. So we pushed off the planning money for the athletic fields in the locker room for the older locker rooms. So there's 3 locker rooms at Polson that eventually need to be addressed, but they're pretty big ticket items. So we're looking at where we prioritize those. So that those projects would still be considered. They're just all in year 6 with the planning money along with that. And because of the nature of those projects, we don't feel we need that lead time of the planning money. And if we did, there is some planning money that Peter receives every year as part of that. We lessened the kitchen renovation at Brown, you know, to about half of what that was. We pushed off the planning money for the auditorium at Brown. This project was in a 10-year plan before the building became an elementary school. So it's probably something that we need to have a long-term conversation on. You know, it's a huge ticket item. There's other priorities of ours. And I would think there would be for the board as well, as that auditorium is in pretty good shape. And it's certainly a very big and nice to have auditorium for a pre-K to 5 school. Most schools, even a new school, that have an auditorium like that. Window replacement, again, this was the planning money put off. We still need to replace the windows at Brown. The Polson door hardware, it becomes part of the major Polson project, as well as the bathroom ADA for Polson. So those two, $500,000 becomes part of that Polson project that we're fortunate enough to shift on. The paving, we felt that, as you'll see below, to paving repairs. We felt that both the Daniel Hand and the Polson paving could wait a little bit. It's in pretty good shape. You know, Peter and Ben have taken a real hard look at that. Felt that we could do some paving repairs rather than push that forward. Again, it needs to be done, but could be waited when we look at that. And then there's 2 items on here you'll see related to the Brown FF&E. $200,000 in this line item that was set to come forward for this year, and there's $100,000 in our reduction amount. Peter and Ben again, and Stacy with their work as we look at this process, working with our principals, we've been able to save some money. That money was put in, you know, a few years ago, and we've had better results in terms of you know, the cost for moving, the cost for some of the furniture that we need to buy. We're reusing a lot of the newer furniture we bought with the boards, supported buying new furniture. So when we look at that, we have really 3 schools to pick from when we're doing furniture. So the TCLC furniture was in pretty good shape. We bought new furniture for Jeffrey and Ryerson over the years. So we're taking the best of those furniture, because the new building gets all new furniture. And then Brown has really older furniture. We haven't bought much new furniture for that, so that there is some replenish and refresh there for Brown. So that's really the grades 4 and 5 there. It's only half the amount of what Brown has right now. So we're in better shape for furniture than we expected, you know, years before when we put this in there. And again, that's a decision I think we thought we could make. It wasn't necessarily easy, we'd like to do more with that, but I think that made sense. In terms of projects that are completed, you'll see in that next line, and we did make a move, as I just explained, and Zoe emailed out, to this. I'm sorry, I didn't catch this earlier, but I think there's a better term that could be used for that. Total, it should say total reductions, I believe, is what we put in there for that. Instead of projects moved to year 6, because as most of them have moved to year 6 or beyond, not all of them had. So I think it's a better term for that. And then the last column there is we had money left in the stage lighting project. We have money left in an old Daniel Hand track resurfacing, so quite old. And then there's the Brown FF&E reduction. We had $800,000 received from last CIP, so we feel we can do it for the 700,000. And so that was good news. And then you'll see on the note on the bottom, the Olson locker room renovation project. That is the one that's more related to the building becoming a shelter or being potentially used as a shelter in the future. And so that is offset by a grant that the town and us are hoping to receive. If we don't get the grant, it wouldn't happen unless it's appropriated somehow other way. But we wanted to point that out, that was one of the reductions we would have considered, but it wouldn't have changed the impact at all. There's no money behind that. So turn it first over to Stacy.
Great job.
Oh. Peter, any?
No, that's exactly how we came about for the reductions. There's I mean, I could add a few things as right now. I mean, if you look at the next year's SIP, there's only 3 items in there that are added into. I just wanted to have you guys be aware that right now we're currently actively working on 42 projects for the town and the school. Those project numbers are totaling $114 million worth of work. 93 million of it's going towards the school.
So we do have even with these changes, we do have a lot going on. And I, really thank Peter for that work and being on top of the projects and also getting us the cost early. So there was a lot of work to kind of figure out the move, and Peter had recently been through one, so that was really helpful to have that background.
Okay, do we have any questions? No, I think it's an excellent job, thank you.
Yeah.
So if I can, the one thing just to add on the CIP calendar, if we are going to go through the process, we are scheduled to go over Board of Ed projects on January 6th.
Right.
So at that point, we could talk about what we have done.
Now, Stacy, this has been the product of collaboration with the other 2 boards. So I'm assuming we're not going to get any surprises on January 6th where they ask us to go back yet again to the drawing board.
So far, it's only been the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Finance has not seen the full piece, but I would think this is about half of where we were at this time last year. When we think about it, we were over about 11.5. And so as Peter's pointed out, and I've pointed out too, we do have a lot of projects going forward. It's not easy, but I think that when the Board of Finance starts looking at this, they're looking at it as a whole. And from my point of view, I think operating budget is probably our most important piece at this point, given the number of projects we have and the ability to look at the projects later. So I have to take a reduction. I'd rather take it in CIP at this point. No more than this, but but to this point, rather than look at an operating budget reduction, because that would truly be staffing. Because at the point we're at now, we don't see additional asks coming forward, kind of one-time asks or new staffing. It's really about keeping what we have, given the reorg and recognizing that we have bonding costs coming on pretty significantly over the next few years.
But this CIP adjustment, it's my understanding that this brings us well within the Madison investment plan, which was the goal between the three boards, right?
Yes,
Yes.
I would hope this is. And that should go through
Yeah.
the CIP committee fairly easily.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Well, who would like to talk about use of our non-lapsing reserve funds?
You want to start with that one, please?
Sorry.
So we had infused, we created a new fund. And we put $141,189 into this fund. And now we could request to take money out and use it for certain types of projects, infrastructure projects, athletics. So the two items that we're looking to do is the athletics scoreboard. And then the pre-K classroom renovations at Brown, and that totals the 141,189.
This is the athletic scoreboard that's part of the field right outside of Daniel Hand. It's our oldest scoreboard still yet. We had to replace basketball ones this past winter. The baseball one was replaced maybe a year or two ago. But this one is older and it has failed on us. So we've had, and then this will bring it all in with the same company as well. So that will be helpful. It's just under $20,000. It's 19. So, it's part of the agenda item tonight, for the vote. And then the remaining money, as Stacy shared, would go towards Brown School and then preschool classrooms that we're doing. There's well beyond that scope, but that would help with some of the costs related to that.
So if it's malfunctioning and it keeps running up the visitor score, we should really replace it.
Yes.
Okay, and yeah, both of these were well advertised. We talked about them here, so. Okay, I have a few dates for the budget calendar, but if you'd like to start it off.
That's all I was really going to emphasize tonight. I'm in the middle of budget heaven. The deadline was November 15th for all the administrators to put everything in, so we're pulling everything together. The central office administrative team will look at the collective product on next Monday, and then on next Wednesday, we have an administrative budget retreat where all the principals come in and we talk about what we want to move forward to the board. And then on December 17th, we will share it with you, and then hopefully the document will be available on December 20th to get us ready for the January 7th full Board of Ed meeting.
Workshop there, and then we hope to have a vote on it, January 21st, if all goes well.
Yes,
And then do we have a referendum date set yet? I don't know. And it's not important, I'm just asking.
We do. It's a week earlier. Yeah. It is May, it's
May, right?
actually, it's a week earlier, so.
The 6th?
The 6th
Yes.
sounds,
Yeah,
that sounds right.
And it's the same night as the board night.
As we prepare the budget, one of the documents that we'll present is showing the staffing changes as we move forward. So for example, we may have one additional secretary at a school, but we'll have one less nurse and things like that as we go through. Those are the bad examples to use, but it's just kind of showing the staffing changes as we go forward. So as we shift custodians around and things like that, I think we want to be very clear with the board first, and then it'll be a document we could use with the town as well to share. But if there's anything else you were thinking or want to see differently than past years, please let us know. We'd be happy to look at that and consider that, but I think that kind of like a cover document showing the multitude of changes. Also, as you know, we eliminated 2 positions at the high school this past summer, so they haven't been there this year. Those would roll forward as high school reductions. Things like that have changed over the year, because one of the things that our team is constantly doing is budget just didn't start, like a couple of weeks ago. We've been thinking about it, fortunately and unfortunately, all throughout the year. And at any time when the position opens or there's an opportunity to save money, things like that. I know that we're working on health insurance right now, and so we're just constantly working on it. So it hopefully will be a better picture than we were expecting even a few months ago, because we've done these reductions over time. Yeah.
What would you say the biggest source of variability would be, like the biggest uncertainty? We have our contracts lined up, which is nice.
Yeah, health insurance. Heather gives Stacy a really good projection of where we look staffing wise. So that's typically what happens when you agree to a contract. That's the highest the number ever will be, and as you have retirements or don't fill positions, then it would reduce from there. But as we've seen, health insurance can be a 0 or it could be double digits, and double digits, 10% health insurance for us is pretty impactful. It would be 1% of our budget, over 1% of our budget. So we're always concerned about where that lands. And I think I know the work we've done over the years with our employee groups paying a significant portion. Our teachers pay 24%, and then most groups are right around that, over 20%. So that's any increase, a quarter of it is being paid for by the employee group. But then also the cost containment efforts of plan design have been helpful. Sort of negotiating different plan design to help savings accounts has really helped us, as a way to decrease costs going forward. So,
Peter, do we have a good fix in electricity? That's still.
yeah,
Right now, I'm still planning for the 18% bump that we took over the summer, because they've said that it's gonna be removed in April, but I can't remove it until I know for sure.
Yeah, that was that's probably number 2. That's a great point. The other thing that will be difficult for Peter to project is, and the board will act on part of this in December, but we have 6 buildings now. We'll have 4 coming out. He doesn't know, nor do any of us know, if we'll have solar panels on the roof of Neck River. That would impact that number pretty significantly if we have that at the start of the year. We don't know how long we'll be holding on to the 3 other buildings. Like we have a projected number for a full year. I had a conversation with the first select woman on Friday of last week, and she would like us to look at like a 6-month to pass it over in January. I think I had looked at earlier, but honestly, we will be in and out of the building quite a bit, throughout the fall. So, I think that's something to consider, and I think it's reasonable for us to look at that. And it's not a huge number, but it is something that from the electricity would be the bulk of the cost in that area. So it's we're asking a lot to kind of project that, but I know Peter's been working on that for a couple months now, and we'll see. But that's a big and then fuel costs, although it seems to have stabilized. I don't think we'll see a big increase or much of an increase from last year, but that's always one that we use a lot of fuel for our buses and our transportation. So that fortunately has leveled.
I'm counting on that 50,000 snow removal.
That's that. I was going to actually ask about that, because we're in a La Nina pattern now. We're expecting more snow supposedly. So I don't know if we
Can't count on it.
careful. Yeah, no. And then
When the snow comes.
yeah.
So if the snow comes on Sundays,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's,
exactly.
it's pretty, you know, it's a lot more expensive than if it comes on a, Monday, and we just don't have school, obviously, but we would have, the, custodians already working to help clean that up and versus having to come in on that.
Sorry to
Saturday night or
Sorry.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then just one other question that may impact budget. If food prices kind of increase because of tariff wars or anything else that may be coming down the pike, are we insulated against that? At one point, I know that our Chartwell's contract had a savings clause for us. I know that was reduced.
Somewhat, yeah, we were a little on the hook for that, if they're not able to stay profitable, and then ultimately we see that the following year, even though we are held a little bit harmless, but I'd have to look at the food cost specifically. I know the employee costs and how that works a little bit more familiar with that, but ultimately that all passes on to us, whether it's in the same year or the next year, with that, we have seen certainly some of that happen already.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, do we have anybody online who has questions? Well, let's go ahead and get a motion to adjourn then. Well, do we need a vote to recommend this to the full board? I guess we do, right? For the CIP reductions, okay. Can I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Thanks, Emily. I'll second it. Okay, all in favor, thank you. All right, motion to adjourn. Thank you. We're adjourned at 5:55, thank you.